This is Joe Biden, the President of the United States. On August 19, 2024, Biden gave what was essentially his farewell address to the Democrat Party. And most people didn't see it because he was pushed out of primetime and didn't start until 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time. But don't worry, here at Don't Walk Run, we have all the highlights.
You know, we have 1,000 billionaires in America. That's not hyperbole. It's because Medicare no longer has to pay those exorbitant prices to the big pharma. Women are not without electoral or political power. Remember he told we couldn't get anything done because we couldn't get anything done in the Congress? Donald Trump and the Republican friends, they not only can't think, they can't read very well. Not hyperbole. Seriously, think about it. Trump and his mega Republican right-wingers, that's not hyperbole. Donald Trump, clear and present threats to our very democracy. No, I'm serious, think about it, not a joke. And guess what? Donald Trump. No, I'm not joking. Think about it. Guess what? Donald Trump. Well, guess what? Donald Trump. This is not hyperbole. Think about that. He means it. Think about that. Not a joke. Folks, Donald Trump has a new plan. Who in the hell does he think he is? Who does he think he is? Donald Trump.
Okay, so a complete fact check of Joe Biden's speech would take about an hour and a half to go through, and quite frankly, I've covered so many of these lies on my channel repeatedly. So instead of rehashing that same old stuff again, here's a quick montage of some of Biden's usual BS.
And unlike Trump, we will not demonize immigrants, saying they're the poison of blood of America. Poison the blood of our country. He's promising a bloodbath if he loses, in his words. And that he'll be a dictator on day one, in his own words. Trump bows down to Putin. But guess who doesn't get it and doesn't respect our veterans? He called them suckers and losers. I ran for president in 2020 because of what I saw in Charlottesville. There are very fine people on both sides. My God. That's what he said. That is what he said and what he meant.
On that sad note, I'm going to debunk some of Biden's biggest claims, starting with this whopper about Donald Trump.
Donald Trump says he will refuse to accept the election result if he loses again. Think about that. He means it. Think about that.
But of course, that is not true.
If I see that we had a fair and free election, which I hope to be able to say, but if I see that, you will never see anybody more honorable than me. I'm an honorable person. Absolutely, I will accept the results.
Gee, President Ice Cream Man lied? I know you're shocked.
Border encounters have dropped over 50%. In fact, there are fewer border crossings today than when Donald Trump left office.
So for clarity, Joe Biden claims that there were fewer illegal immigrants trying to cross the border now, when compared to the last month that Trump was in office. But according to Customs and Border Patrol, there were 78,414 enforcement encounters at the southwest border. In July 2024, there were over 104,000 enforcement encounters.
It's sad. Trump continues to lie about the border.
Says the man who hasn't told the truth about the border in 4 years.
Here's what he won't tell you. Trump killed the strongest bipartisan border deal in the history of the United States.
But the so-called bipartisan border bill wasn't really about closing the border. Instead, it was mostly about increasing the amount of migrants that could be processed, let into the country, and given a fast pass to citizenship. In other words, the bipartisan border bill would have helped the situation at the border about as much as the Inflation Reduction Act reduced inflation.
He called senators to say, don't support the bipartisan bill, because he said it would help me politically and hurt him politically. Typically Trump, once again, putting himself first and America last.
And typically, Biden once again is demonizing Trump and the Republicans instead of admitting that this bill was always dead on arrival. Biden knew it was never going to pass the Senate, let alone the Republican-controlled House, but he wanted to have an election year issue to campaign on. Trump and the Republicans don't care about the border. But remember that it was Donald Trump who campaigned in 2016 on securing the border and building a wall. And it was Democrats and the media that fought him on it every day during Trump's entire first term, claiming that he was a racist who hated immigrants.
I think a border wall is racist.
As a reminder, back in 2018, Trump wanted $25 billion for a border wall and additional security upgrades on the southwestern and northern U.S. borders. In exchange, he would have provided a path to citizenship to DACA recipients. But instead, Democrats rejected the proposal and threw the so-called dreamers under the bus, all because it would have helped Trump politically. Womp womp.
We've gone from economic crisis to the strongest economy in the entire world. Record 16 million new jobs.
This is probably the biggest lie that Biden has consistently told throughout his term, that under the Biden-Harris administration, there's been record job creation. But in reality, the majority of those jobs are not new jobs. They are recovered jobs that were lost during the pandemic. Here's Democrat Senator Dick Durbin on the matter.
Let's take a look at the record of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They recovered all those millions of jobs that Trump watched slip away. They added over 6 million jobs on top of that. 16 million jobs in total. 16 million.
Notice that he didn't say 16 million new jobs. He actually told the truth. So let's prove his statement. In February 2020, i.e. before the pandemic and before our economy was artificially shut down, there were 152.3 million jobs in the United States. Within 2 months, the US lost over 22.1 million jobs. By the time Joe Biden entered the White House, though, 15.8 million of those jobs had been recovered. That means that Joe Biden would need to see job growth amounting to 9.4 million jobs to get back to pre-pandemic levels. Any job created beyond that would be considered a new job. Joe Biden would finally reach that threshold in June 2022. By July 2024, the United States hit 158.2 million jobs, which means that according to the Labor Department, 6.4 million new jobs have been created so far under the Biden administration.
American manufacturing is back. Where the hell to say we wouldn't lead the world in manufacturing? 800,000 new manufacturing jobs.
And that is another lie. In February 2020, i.e. pre-pandemic, there were 12.7 million manufacturing jobs in the United States. Within 2 months, that number dropped to 11.4 million, which means that the United States lost 1.36 million manufacturing jobs in just 2 months' time. In January 2021, Trump's last month in office, 769,000 of those manufacturing jobs came back. Again, these were not new jobs, these were recovered jobs. So this means that 592,000 manufacturing jobs would need to be created under Biden to hit the break-even point. And that happened nearly a year and a half later in May 2022. By July 2024, there would be 12.95 million manufacturing jobs in the US. When Joe Biden claims that every single job created under his administration was a new job, he is a liar, and he's not doing himself or Kamala Harris or the Democrat Party any favors by overstating job growth, because people know better. They can feel it. This is why Biden has such low marks on the economy. Anyway, 800,000 manufacturing jobs have not been created under Biden's watch. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that number is actually 765,000.
800,000 new manufacturing jobs.
Nope, In reality, only 173,000 of those jobs were new jobs. The rest were recovered jobs. Another reason why Americans believe that the economy sucks is how the job numbers have been reported month after month. If you follow me on X, and why wouldn't you, you'll see that I post this chart every Jobs Friday. Since January 2023, more than 66% of the time, the numbers have been wrong. Take, for example, the jobs report from January 2024.
The first jobs report, jobs of 24 is out, and it is whopper 353,000. 353,000.
But actually, that number was way off. It wasn't 353,000 jobs. Instead, it was revised down to 256,000, which means that the initial reading was off by 97,000 jobs. And again, if you follow me on X, you'd know already that 12 of the last 18 jobs reports revisions have been downward revisions. Since January 2023, the numbers have been off by 336,000 jobs. And here's a huge plot twist. 2 days after Joe Biden's keynote address at the DNC, the Bureau of Labor Statistics published a major preliminary benchmark revision to the jobs numbers. It turns out that between April 2023 and March 2024, the Labor Department overestimated the jobs numbers by 818,000. That includes overestimating manufacturing jobs by 115,000. And this is a scandal. For years, the Biden administration has been claiming that the United States economy is the strongest in the world. But when voters would question any of it, Democrats would essentially call them ignorant. They just don't understand that Bidenomics is working.
Today, the Bureau of Labor saying that more than 800,000 fewer jobs were actually created than initially reported. And we have a soundbite here just to play. We can listen to it together because Donald Trump is already addressing this on the campaign trail. So let's take a listen to that one together.
The administration padded the numbers with an extra, listen to this one, 818,000 jobs that don't exist. So they said they existed, and they never did exist. They built them up so that they could say what a wonderful job they're doing.
So when you hear that, do you potentially think that this new numbers could be a liability for this campaign?
No, when I hear that, first of all, I don't believe it because I've never heard Donald Trump say anything truthful.
It is, though, from the Bureau of Labor.
I'm not familiar with that.
So Gina Raimondo, the Commerce Secretary, is not only clueless about what's going on in the job sector, but when Kana Whitworth told her that the number was real, Raimondo's immediate response was like, well, if Trump said it, it's a lie. But then when Whitworth assured her that the number was in fact real and that the jobs report for an entire 12-month period was off by 28%, Raimondo had nothing to say about it. Instead, she started claiming that business leaders love Kamala Harris.
I have talked to hundreds of business leaders who have looked at Harris's plans, who have looked at her focus on innovation, her focus on, helping businesses.
Business leaders love her plans. What plans? Kamala Harris hasn't released any plans.
Kamala Harris will give more than 100 middle-class Americans a tax cut.
Anyway, for the record, the Labor Department's benchmark revision means that under the Biden-Harris administration, there have been only a total of 58,000 new manufacturing jobs.
American manufacturing is back.
And that benchmark revision also means that nearly 1 million jobs were initially reported, but never actually existed. And it also means that the unemployment rate has been much higher than reported every month for an entire year. Those two factors indicate that economic growth hasn't been as strong as the Biden-Harris administration has led us to believe. And that means the likelihood of a recession has increased substantially. But don't worry, these are preliminary numbers. We won't get the actual numbers until February 2025. You know, after the election. How convenient. Anyway, that's it for now. As always, thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time, if there is a next time.